Hi, Isaac. It's very nice to meet with you. Would you mind telling me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Isaac Spaeth. I have a performance degree in classical saxophone. I've been a freelance saxophonist and clarinetist for a number of years. I teach a lot of private students as well as various classes in the community. I run my own instrument repair shop that focuses on restoration and customization of professional saxophone professional instruments. I've run that for the last 5 years. It's called Windworks. And then I also teach at Bonaventure. I do the wind ensemble. And I'm currently doing my master's of music education at the University of Florida.
Wow. All right. Busy guy, busy guy. Okay,
Yes.
so I have a bunch of questions for you because so basically for this class we were set out to find a problem. And when we found that problem, me and another girl in my class came to the conclusion that we both wanted to work in music for our problem. And when we came to that problem, we found a bigger problem in getting instruments to kids in K through 12 education. Now, could you tell me any personal experiences that you've had with kids getting instruments in 12 through K through 12 education?
Yeah. I deal with that daily through my instrument repair shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I deal with a lot of parents who are looking to get their kids started, either in guiding them through a rental program or purchasing. I also do a lot of, I give away a lot of instruments to students that are less fortunate, things like that. So I usually try once a month to give out an instrument to someone in need. Things like that. So, and I've also worked on setting up programs to help schools out so people can donate to schools an instrument and I fix them, and then the school kind of rents them through me until the price of the repair is paid off.
Okay.
So I actually work a lot with getting instruments into the hands of the people that need them, specifically K through.
So could you tell me more about Woodworks? Like, how did you even come up with that idea? What sparked that? How did you know that that was a need? What validated that problem for you?
Yeah, so Windworks kind of started up, like I said, I have my performance degree.
Mm-hmm.
And my senior year of college, my first kid came along. I have two. You probably hear the one running around, the other's doing her Zoom on for school right now. But so I didn't pursue my master's right then because new kid, everything like that. And I was talking to the local repair guy here, who was quite a bit older, and he said, well, why don't you go study instrument repair? I'm not going to be around. So if you do it, you have a job ready for you. And I've always loved that stuff. So yeah, I just kind of went out and I did that and wanted to come back to this area, which is, has a little bit harder of a time accessing things like that, and provide services here for that.
And for Winworks, who would you say is probably like your main customer, would you say? The students around here, their parents?
Actually, my main customers, as far as like money and everything, is actually professional musicians. And that's across the country. I get a lot of people mailing me things,
Lots of like
stuff like that.
donations.
I do a lot of like restoration of antique instruments for collectors or museums. I work with a lot of professional musicians, a lot of college students like at Fredonia, things like that, in Buffalo, everything like that. But I mean, I certainly work a lot with schools. Not so much this year, of course, as school budgets are still being figured out and everything like that. But so this year has been the slowest as far as working directly with students and stuff, but
Right.
I always have a.
Yeah, so let me tell you more about what we were thinking in terms of our solution for this problem. So once we came towards our official problem, which was the access for students through K through 12 education getting instruments, we found that it was because all the schools were shutting down and becoming more remote. And through that, we wanted to have an option for the kids to even get an instrument, have access to one, learn about music and stuff like that. So we have some working solutions, and I'm kind of just going to ask you and have you almost maybe validate those for me and see how you think they would work. So the first one would be a after school program for kids who want to learn music, basically like almost essentially a YMCA. You go there after school and then you learn all about music. Different instruments are offered to you and you get to learn the educational values of it, the actual love for it, kind of almost essentially feel like you're in a band. What do you think about that? Would you send possibly your kids there?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm kind of doing that exact thing right now with a local music store called Beat City. We just redid their whole up. Yes, we just redid their whole upstairs. It's right downtown on Union and Olean.
Yeah, we've talked to them.
Okay, we're going to be doing lessons. I'm going to be working with small ensembles as well as doing private classes like in music history, world music, things like that. So I mean, I think that's a great idea. In fact, something I've always done through my business is something called an instrument petting zoo, which I go to like libraries or summer programs, things like that. And I bring just a whole bunch of instruments. We talk about different instrument families. And they also get to try out the instruments, things like that. Of course, this year I can't do that. Now, I don't know if you've come across any of the interesting internet websites like New York Phil for Kids, San Francisco Philharmonic for Kids, but they have interactive instrument petting zoos online. Which they can, and it's completely free. They're really cool. But you know, obviously in person is much better. And even better if you can supply instruments, obviously, because then it costs less too. There are a few libraries recently, and I've actually wanted to talk to Olean Library about doing something like this. I know the New York Central Library is doing it, but you can actually rent out or take out instruments like a book, right? And you get it for a certain amount of time. It's really pretty interesting, and I would love to do something like that because that also can encourage like in an after school situation.
Right, yeah. That sounds awesome. So, that was a lot of information. And then also, so thank you for all that information on the after school program. And then another solution that we were thinking was an online subscription almost. So like almost like Netflix, how you pay for that every month. Like you would pay for an instrument every month. You would pick what instrument you want, get it sent to you. And then if you don't like that instrument, the next month, send it back, end your subscription, or keep continuing going with that instrument. Just like kind of getting to have free choice over which instrument you pick, when you want to play it, and then with getting that instrument, getting like lessons that are already pre-recorded that you can stop, pause, go back, and also along with sheet music. What do you think about that idea?
That's a neat idea. Now, certain rental programs already kind of do that, or you could do that with it. They don't encourage it.
We're also thinking of like a rent. Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but we were also thinking of like a renting and leasing business, but then we kind of also figured that would tie in. We were thinking of like a third party rental, so almost like you. And then we were thinking that could almost tie in with the online subscription because they're very too similar, and we would need instruments to come from somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So there, I don't know if you've looked up companies like Veritas or Music and Arts. NEMC is another one. They're kind of big rental programs, and they're
Mhm.
countrywide. And like, so my store could subcontract through them. So I set up Beat City Music with Veritas, right? And they can do monthly rentals and everything through them.
Mhm.
Um, Now, the lesson thing is a good idea. I have taught some online music lessons. I don't particularly like it. Um, there are certain programs that work better with it. But of course, if you have recorded lessons, that's better. Check out a software called Smart Music.
Okay.
Um, Smart Music, or there's another one called, I think it's Practice First.
Okay.
But so they're almost like it's a monthly subscription, and they have a lot of sheet music already on it,
Right.
common pieces or instruments, and the students can actually play to the program, and it documents how accurate they were and gives
Cool.
them instant feedback.
Cool.
And it also has backing tracks that you can buy a special microphone, and the backing track will follow, like say if you put rubato on a line or something, it will try to follow you and stuff,
Mhm.
which is a really interesting piece. That's Myra,
Hello.
my daughter. Um, Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Remote learning. It's been an interesting thing. um, so I would check out those sites. I mean,
Okay.
there is certainly value in, especially if you set it up right or incorporate the best parts of those two situations
Right.
into one. There's a large possibility. Now, one issue, sorry if I talk too much, but
No, not at all.
one issue with a lot of the stuff is parents.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know much about music, right?
Right.
And so the parents' real introduction into music is their kid wanting to do band. So why would a parent do an after-school program if they're just like, oh, what? This is just another money thing,
Right.
And are they getting a grade? Is this benefiting them in the long run? But it's educating the value of arts
Yeah.
to the parents to say that yes, this is important to do.
Yeah. You would say that that was like a big problem that you would think that would come up, the educational value of music to parents.
Yeah. So like with sports and stuff, the parents can visually see the change and they're apt to go at it, whereas with music, they don't necessarily visually see the change. So then there's this disconnect with them. But if you provide an ensemble, a performance, something like a recording, say you do this subscription thing, and then have students record their progress, and then you could give out at the end of the month recordings, a collection of recordings or something of the best performances. Then the parents would have something to be like, oh wow, yeah, wait, my student is actually growing. Or another thing is, incorporating some kind of recording software, because something I do with my private students is I always record their first lesson.
Okay.
And then if they start getting frustrated, I record that frustration lesson, right? And then I play them their first lesson ever. And I say, well, you didn't feel like you grew, but look at this change.
Right.
Comparison change. And that can be important for parents too, to
100%.
hear.
Thank you for that suggestion. That's awesome. And then if you would guys have any over like arching ideas or like last thoughts about the solutions that I gave you, feel free to spit them out. But other than that, I just wanted to get a gist of how you felt about those.
I think both of those are really, really important and really good to do.
Okay.
You know, one of my big things is the so many people overlook the value of something like music, and especially if there's ways to make them cheaper or free.
Yeah.
Um, that that changes everything. You know, that's a big game changer. A lot of people feel that music and the arts is a money suck, and that's hard. Of course, if you're doing a business, obviously you need to make some kind of money, and to keep it going. So if there are ways to offer partially free things, you know, in order to get farther on with it,
Right.
and maybe more content if they maybe do spend some money with the business, then that's a good thing, or a trial basis or something to see if they like it.
Mhm.
Because I know a lot of people, especially if they're not familiar with music, are very tentative in putting their kids in it, especially nowadays where, you know, you don't really see concerts on TV. You see sports on TV though, you
Mhm.
know, things like that. It's not something they're used to. So, I mean, a large part of my goals is always education. For a while, like last year, I offered arts events for free in the Olean community. And I brought in major artists and stuff like that. And I paid for them all out of pocket just to help try to educate some more, and
Right.
try to bring in people to see arts. And then money wasn't an issue for them.
Gotcha.
They had no reason not to go, you
Mhm.
know? So things like that are important, and community events.
Mm.
Things like doing, I don't know if you know Tuba Christmas.
No, I
Um,
don't.
it's a national thing. There's a certain day where all the tuba and euphonium players across the country go out and play Christmas carols.
Aw.
You know, things like that. Free community outreach like that is so important, and unsolicited ones. Unfortunately, unsolicited because you know, a lot of cities ban busking and things like that.
Mm.
But just to prove to the community that music is something that's important, and it brings a little flavor and uniqueness to their community.
Yeah.
Um, you know, those are important outreaches. So maybe taking that after school program and having kids, not necessarily just on Christmas, but kids go out and play in a nursing home.
Mhm.
Kids sitting in front of a store to play or something like that, doing little concerts, for the public. That is
Right.
a beautiful outreach to bring more people into your program. So that those are things like I'm planning, just to help try to bring in people, more and more people.
Now sorry, I just have one more question. For the after school program that you're doing with Beats City, can you tell me more about that? Like what is gonna be like almost like your selling points, I guess? Like what are you offering?
Yeah, well, you know, especially right now, we're offering music where a lot of schools don't have music, where they only have individual lessons. So in creating things like chamber groups, smaller ensembles, we can do that in a space and spread them out enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they're getting ensemble playing. We're also, you know, we're trying to get the community to interact with creating music or giving them the tools to be able to create music. But also individualized lessons.
Right.
School lessons only go so far. You know, school lessons are taught by a person that tries to encompass all the instruments, but might not know all the finite points. Whereas a specialized teacher can really work on your embouchure, your technique, everything like that, and point out and give you direct practice to you. And that's important. And I think a lot of people are like, well, students get lessons at school, but their lessons don't involve literature, for their specific instrument.
Mhm.
Usually not historical practice, usually doesn't go in depth into theory, maybe of pieces or anything, and proper performance procedures. So it helps encourage the student to be a better musician.
Yeah.
And the student can maybe look into other things like, I've taught Metallica to a kid on saxophone,
Mhm.
right? I've arranged Metallica for them because that's what they wanted to work on.
Right.
So, I make a deal with my students. I will do whatever you want if you do what I want to,
Mhm.
this exchange. And so, okay, you learned your skills. I'll figure out this song for you, or we can work on improvisation, or, let's figure out how to make really weird sounds on your instrument.
Right.
Right. So there can be this exchange, more freedom with how you're doing things, a more student-centered thing. So that's kind of my personal goals with
Mhm.
that after-school program. Now there are a few other teachers, and their goals might be a little different, but that's where I try to focus my efforts, as far as that goes.
That's absolutely awesome. You gave me, this was empty before this interview. You gave me a lot of information. I'm going to look into all of it, and I'll honestly probably reach out to you again if that's okay.
Perfectly fine, anytime.
Okay, cool. Well, you did a
You have my
sorry, I was gonna
I
just
was
gonna
gonna say, you have my cell phone and my email, and yeah, we can talk anytime.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Thank you so much for all your information. Thank you for meeting with me. Thank you for answering your phone. And I'll probably talk
yeah.
to you again soon.
All right, sounds good. You take care now.
Thank you, you too.